this fascist, racist, rapist president that we have in the White House, Donald Trump, is one of the major individuals who got the ball rolling to see the gutting of the Voting Rights Act. Yep. But he is a symptom of a larger problem of white supremacy. And so we are standing here in 2026 as New York leaders, united with our sisters and brothers in the South, fighting back against the attack on voting rights in this country, and fighting back specifically against the attack on black people and black voters in this country. Because that's what this is all about. As soon as the Supreme Court gutted the Voting Rights Act, Tennessee moved immediately to remove the only all-black congressional district that existed in Tennessee. This is not just a South problem. This is a problem for New Yorkers as well. Because as the House and as Congress makes these national laws, they impact all of us. And I was an individual that was personally impacted in 2024 when my district was redrawn and 200,000 black people were taken out of the district. And so this impacts us here, this impacts the South, this impacts our nation, and this impacts our democracy. And so before we go any further, I would like to bring up Reverend Dr. Rashad Moore from the First Baptist Church of Crown Heights to offer a few words. Good morning, New York. Good morning.
We are gathered here today not in despair, but we still stand in defiance and hope. In exactly 40 days from now, this nation will light fireworks over the river, and we will sing the national anthem, and we will celebrate the 250-year anniversary of this country. But in the middle of this celebration, of celebrating the birthday of democracy, how can we do such a thing when the voting rights bill has been gutted? For us, the vote is not just a political convenience. It is a sacred ground. It is a sacred act. It was purchased with the blood of Medgar Evers. It was purchased with the broken bones of John Lewis. It was purchased with the bruised body of Fannie Lou Hamer in Mississippi. And right now in Georgia, in Mississippi, in Tennessee, and Louisiana, polling places are being closed and voting rights are being stripped away. We are in New York City today in this bastion of liberalism. What they do on the ballot in Georgia, in Mississippi, in Louisiana, and Tennessee will also have an impact on us. What affects them directly will also affect us here in New York. Every generation has had to fight this fight. From Reconstruction to Jim Crow and Selma, they bled so that we could vote. And we will not be the generation that will sit by and let it die now. We will not be the generation that sits by idly while we celebrate birthdays while the ballot is being stripped away. And so today, New York City stands with the South. We are not leaving until victory is won. Thank you.
It is now my absolute honor and privilege to bring up one of my colleagues in Congress, the chairperson of the Congressional Black Caucus, Congresswoman Yvette Parker.
Thank you very much, Jamal. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
And thank you to all of our partners, advocates, faith organizers, elected officials, and to the press for joining in solidarity today, because you understand what's at stake in this moment. We are gathered here in solidarity with black communities across the South of this nation who are once again facing a coordinated attack on their political power, their representation, and their fundamental right to participate fully in our democracy. One of the greatest myths ever told about America is that our democracy was always fully formed and equally accessible. The truth is that for generations, black Americans had to fight, organize, march, bleed, and die to force this nation to live up to its promises. The Voting Rights Act of 1965 was not a gift to us out of goodwill. It was won through sacrifice, through courage, through blood, sweat, and tears, through ordinary people demanding dignity and equal representation under the law. And now, 60 years later, we are watching extremists attempt to dismantle hard-fought gains piece by piece. In the wake of the Supreme Court's April 29th Cadillac decision, states across the South have moved rapidly to redraw congressional maps in ways designed to dilute black voting strength, weaken black representation, and silence black communities politically. Let us call what it is: a modern-day full frontal assault on black representation and political power. We have seen this before. Poll closures in black communities, voter roll purges, attacks on early voting, gerrymandered maps, attempts to make it harder for working people, young people, and black communities to cast a ballot and have that ballot counted and have it matter. Politicians are trying to choose their voters instead of voters choosing their leaders, all because Republicans know they will lose this upcoming November election due to their corruption, cruelty, and cowardice. This is not politics as usual. This is a defining moral moment for our country. And an attack on black voting rights anywhere is a threat to democracy everywhere. That's why New York City stands with the black voters and elected representations of the South today. Because we understand that the fight for civil rights in Alabama, Georgia, Louisiana, Tennessee, Florida, Texas, Missouri, Mississippi is connected to the future of democracy for all of us. So I'm going to yield now to our moderator, but let it be known that the fight ain't over, the battle has just begun, and we will have the victory. Amen.
Thank you, Congresswoman. When we fight,
we win.
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 It is now my honor to bring up our New York City Public Advocate, Mr. J.
Peace and blessings, love and light to everybody. I know my name's been associated with this, and I appreciate it, but I want to give a round of applause to Sandy Nurse. Frederick Douglass wrote a speech that's famous, what to the slave is the 4th of July. So now we have to ask, what to black Americans is the 250th birthday? Because there are so many things that we understand is going backwards. And so not too far from there was the first open-air slave market, because the first commodity in Wall Street were black bodies. And we have been telling folks that the orange shit stain in the White House is all about reversing us back to a time that they say America is great.
That's right.
That's when black people were in chains or legally segregated. That is what makes America great to them. And we have told you this time and time again, from the chains that are on the Statue of Liberty to what's happening now, denying black people the vote, denying black people their rights is nothing new. It is ingrained in the foundation of this country. And we have told New Yorkers and we have told Americans that that is what MAGA wants to bring us back to. And so the question you have to ask yourself is, why are you still making excuses for what is going on now? It is clear, as they are kidnapping citizens not too far from here and around the city and country, as they are literally telling black people you can't afford to live in New York City, so move down south where you can't vote and you won't have representatives. This is actually happening in this America. But I am proud to be a part of the better America around me that always fights back. And the purpose of this press conference is to make sure our brothers and sisters in the South No, we stand with them because we know that where you go, we will be coming shortly. And so as I end, I want to make sure, and I'm sorry, but I got to say this, because in 3.5 years, my term is over. And I would love for people to remember my name, but I'm not sure that they will. And I want my daughters to be able to say that their father did everything that they could to bring them a better country, so that they will remember my name and pass it down to their children saying, this is what your father, this is what your grandfather did. So all I want you to do is whatever you can. If you can fly, then fly. And if you can run, then run. And if you can crawl, then crawl. And in your last steps, take the baton of justice, light it up, and point the way so that my children can take it up and say, job well done, we got it from here. We got this. Peace and blessings,
We will remember the name of Jamani Williams for all time. We will remember the name of Sandy Nurse for all time. We will remember the name of Tamika Mallory for all time. All of our names will be remembered because we will all, for the rest of our lives, fight for justice and humanity and equality. We will never stop. We are going to win this fight, and then we will continue to fight because white supremacy does not rest. So we will not rest. And we have more people than them. We have God on our side, and we are more powerful than them. And there's nothing they can do to defeat us. So New York City stands with the South. And we don't die, we multiply. And we will continue to multiply. It's my honor to bring up my sister from the Boogie Down Bronx, council member and leader, Althea Stevens.
Well, I want to start off by saying thank you to all the leaders, advocates, clergy, organizers, students, elders, colleagues in government, and everyone who showed up here today because you understand democracy only works when we protect it. So give it up for yourselves. I'm proud to stand here today not only as a council member representing the 16th district in the Boogie Down Bronx, but as a Black woman who understands the responsibility of this moment. Today is not about politics. Today is about power. Today is about protection. And today is about our purpose. Across this country, we are witnessing a coordinated effort to suppress the Black vote through systems that were never designed for us to succeed in the first place. We see the voter rolls being purged. We see attacks on voter access. We see barriers and places in front of working families, young people, seniors, and communities of color. We see the attempt to rewrite history, silence truth, and discredit populations and communities. And let's be honest about something. These systems aren't new. They were built for generations to keep certain communities out of the opportunities and lock decision makers and lock us out of power. But despite every obstacle, Black people have always shown how they could show up and fight the right way. Our grandparents marched. Our great-grandparents organized. They faced violence, intimidation, discrimination, and fear, and they still fought for their right to vote because they understood that something that we could not afford to lose or forget our power in. People lost their jobs. People lost and were beaten. People died. So when we choose to show up, we become connected. We encourage each other. We silence those who want us silenced. But our response cannot be to walk away from democracy. Our response must be to organize harder, to mobilize louder, to educate deeper, and to vote in every single election, local, state, and federal. I see my time is up, but I want to be clear. We stand in solidarity with the South, and we also stand in solidarity with New York. Because New Yorkers, we need to vote like our life depends on it.
Right.
Because the numbers that we see in Black and brown communities around voting is dismal. So we need to continue to fight and educate young people to be a part of this fight, because I say this every chance I get. This fight is for young people to have. They are the ones that need to be on the front line pushing this agenda. So it's our job, each and every one of us here, to support and guide them to get them across the finish line. That's what we need to focus on and continue to organize. And thank you, and we stand in solidarity.
So I want to say very clearly that this is not just a black issue. This is a human rights issue.
That's right.
This is a democracy issue. If we don't deal with this issue directly and forcefully, we don't have a democracy in the society and a country to stand on. So I'm calling out to all of our allies out there to use the power of your voices and speak up.
Yes.
If you happen to be our Jewish brothers and sisters, our Muslim brothers and sisters, Irish, Italian, Bosnian, wherever you from, wherever you at, East Asian, South Asian, wherever you at, step up and be heard and put pressure on your neighbors in your community to be a part of this fight as well. It is now my honor to bring up our sister, the leader of the Working Families Party, Jasmine Griffin, to say a few words.
When voting rights are under attack, what do?
Stand up, fight back.
We are all standing in solidarity today to stand up and to fight back. We are here not on our own accord, not because our work ethic got us here. We are here because the people before us went. Our grandparents, great-grandparents, great-grandparents managed to be resilient in the face of every obstacle and overcome everything that was put in our way. And still we built black political power through our churches, through our community organizations, and eventually to build power in elected office. I am proud to stand here with our elected officials of New York City. I want to say that our state leaders wanted to be here, but they are in Albany still fighting for a just and equitable budget. We still have work to do in New York to overcome the racism we face here in our own city and our state, but we will not leave behind our brothers and sisters in the South. We all have family members who have migrated south. Our people have all left New York because of the affordability crisis and not being able to afford a quality home in New York, and we will fight to make that right here. But even as they go to the South, we will make sure that rights are protected here and they still have access to representation. The New York Working Families Party is proud to continue to build power for black working class New Yorkers, not just here in New York, but we are extending across the country. And we're making sure we're building black political power that can own our decision-making rights. One of the things we stand for the Family Party is we don't just want a seat at the table, we want our people controlling the table. We wanted to take that resources that have been withheld for our community too long are now unleashed into our schools, into our community for housing, into transportation. And we cannot do that if our right to vote gets suppressed. And so we will continue to fight that and stand up in New York and across the country to build black political power, and we will not give up our right to the polls and to the voting rights. And we will continue to fight each and every day. Thank you.
Before I announce the next speaker, I want to give a huge shout out to our brother who's been organizing in communities that many don't want to walk into. My brother, my son Lyndon, is here in the building. Before I continue, I would like to bring up, before distract us, excuse me, I would love to bring up my sister, Crystal Hudson.
Thank you. Good morning. Good morning. When I say defend, you say democracy. Defend.
Democracy.
Democracy.
Democracy. Democracy.
I want to be very clear that this moment is not happening by accident. What we are witnessing is a direct attack on black political power in this country. When courts weaken the Voting Rights Act, when legislatures redraw maps to erase black representation, when elected officials target majority black districts, they are sending a clear message that they fear black political power. But these tactics are not new. After Reconstruction, when formerly enslaved people began gaining political power, white supremacists responded with violence. Black elected officials were murdered. Black communities were destroyed. Elections were overturned. and that history is directly connected to what we are seeing now. The tactics may look different, but the goal is the same. Silence Black voices and consolidate power. Today, it's through court decisions, it's through gerrymandering, it's through voter suppression, and attacks on basic democratic rights that they are trying to silence us. And it's not just us, as you've heard from others before me, because an attack on Black voting power anywhere threatens democracy everywhere. Once representation is stripped from Black communities, the consequences spread to those already pushed to the margins: immigrants, working class people, queer communities, disabled communities. We know that when those in power cannot win fairly, they change the rules. But change has never come from waiting for those in power to act. Every expansion of democracy in this country happened because ordinary people organized and fought. That responsibility belongs to us now, not just to witness this moment, but to respond to it, to defend voting rights, to stay engaged, to protect one another. People still hold power, and no court decision, no gerrymandered map can erase that. So we stand here today in solidarity with Black communities all across this country, and particularly in the South, in the defense of democracy itself. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Crystal. It's my honor to bring up the leader that brought us all together initially, Councilmember Sandy Nux.
All right, y'all, you with me? Yeah, all right. We are here today because what happens in Louisiana, what happens in Alabama, what happens in Tennessee, what's starting to happen in North Carolina, when it happens there, it happens to all of us. When they draw maps to dilute Black votes, that is an attack on democracy. When they purge voter rolls the night before an election, that is an attack on democracy. When they close polling places in Black neighborhoods, that is an attack on democracy. Our people marched and they were brutalized so that every Black man, woman, grandmother, young adult, that every voice counted. They fled for the ballots, and we're not going back.
Bravo.
From Manhattan to Memphis, from Brooklyn to Birmingham, this is one movement. We are one people, and this is one fight. So we stand with the South. New York sees you. We will continue to organize. We will continue to show up. We will continue to send resources. We will continue to send people. And we are going to fight like hell to ensure that every one of us is heard across this country.
It is now my honor to bring up our sister and a fierce leader in our community and country for many, many years, our sister L. Joy Williams from NAACP New York.
Listen, what we are experiencing right now is the ongoing battle of who has power in this country. This is an ongoing battle that every generation has to take up arms to fight. And that fight is ours because the ultimate fear is black power.
That's right.
And what are you afraid of? Are you afraid that our children, no matter their zip code, will have a quality education? Are you afraid that there won't be people struggling to feed themselves and their families? Are you afraid that you won't have to be able to gobble up resources and hoard it for yourself, but that everyone will have the resources they need to thrive? You are afraid of equity. You are afraid of fairness. You are afraid of blackness. This is an anti-black attack across this country because it is not set right with white supremacists that we are free. And so each and every generation has this battle to use whatever tools we have in this democracy and making this country the way it truly says it ought to be. So we stand with the South today. NAACP is organizing in Alabama, in Texas, in Tennessee, and right here in New York, and building the power necessary to take control of this democracy and remake it again. We are not fighting back because back wasn't equitable. We are fighting forward. Fighting forward to bring this democracy to where it should be, to take care of all who are within its borders. NAACP stands with the South. We stand with New Yorkers, and we stand with black people everywhere for black power. Thank you.
We are fighting forward. And to change the subject real quick, but it's connected. I think all high school athletes should boycott attending universities in the South because it's the high school athletes, particularly black and brown bodies, who are building wealth in the South through college athletics. If we stop going to the schools in the South, we shut down the South economy. And unfortunately, moves like that is what we have to do to exercise our collective power. So I'm aboard that train. I want to also recognize a few individuals and organizations that I may have not recognized before. Simone Jones, Chief Equity Officer for City Council Speaker. Ms. Simone, hey Simone, how you doing? Good to see you. Council Member Chanel Thomas Henry with Councilmember. Also want to recognize Arva Rice from the National Urban League. And next up, I would like to call up my good brother and a fearless leader in New York City and across the country, our brother Councilmember Chiose.
Good morning. First and foremost, I want my statements and my words to only be associated with me. I don't want to get anyone behind me in trouble. A couple years ago, our incredible First Lady of the United States of America said, when they go low, we go high. With all due respect to the First Lady, I say F that. Our response to this far-right white nationalist movement in this country is we got to go lower. We got to gerrymander every single Democratic majority state in this country, from New York to California, from Colorado to Washington. I want to see the funkiest map you've ever seen in your life to draw out these white nationalists in these states. Right. And in terms of our response here in New York City and New York State, we're losing congressional seats here in New York. We're losing congressional seats in California as well. We need to make our states more affordable. We need to ensure that black and brown families can not only stay here, but continue to move here. I want us to incentivize a growth in population across our state so that we're not only losing congressional seats, but we're gaining more congressional seats. So fight back is to give us the tools to fight back against the far right in this country. So the two calls to action that I have, aside from standing in solidarity with the states in the South, is we need Democratic majorities to do what they do best and redraw those lines and giving us a Democratic majority for years to come, and to make New York City and New York State as affordable as they could be, so we can increase our delegation here in New York. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brother Chief. Before I call the next speaker, I just want to share something briefly with you. So, I was sworn into Congress January 3rd, 2021. January 6th, 2021, there was an insurrection on the U.S. Capitol. The FBI had evidence that showed local law enforcement in rural and red communities were coordinating with white supremacists. The FBI shared that information with us in the House. The sergeant-at-arms in the House did not respond, said we didn't need extra security. Of course, the sergeant-at-arms were then fired. But then Trump wins again. He pardoned everybody on January 6th. They get jobs with ICE. They start killing Americans in the street. Trump tells the states to start redistricting. They do their redistricting. Now they're taking black voters away all over the country. This is white supremacy in modern history in real time that we are living with. We don't have to go back to my ancestors being raped and lynched and brutalized to build the American economy. We don't got to go back 400 years. We don't got to go back to the black codes. We don't got to go back to them having picnics and taking pictures with my ancestors hanging from trees. They still hanging niggas in the South right now. We don't have to go that far back. And so when Sandy put out the call, that's why we're here. We dying every day, not to mention mass incarceration that continues to lock our brothers and sisters up for nothing. Nothing. Not to mention continue underfunding of schools and miseducation. My people come from Sierra Leone and Burkina Faso, the Temne people and the Bisa people. I learned that in my 40s. Because education is rooted in white supremacy, and I was taught to be just like a white man. For this country to reach its full potential, we better organize across race, class, community, and that is why New York stands with the South. It is now my honor to bring up, before I bring anyone up, I need to recognize Sarita Daphne from Freedom Agenda. Where's Sarita at? Good to see you, Sarita. Awesome. Come here, Freedom, how sorry. It is my honor to bring up an amazing leader who's just been doing the work behind the scenes, in front of the scenes for her whole life, pretty much. Ms. Tamika Mallory from Until Free.
No justice.
No peace.
No justice.
No peace.
No justice.
No peace.
If there ain't gonna be no justice, there ain't gonna be no damn peace.
Right.
God bless you, brothers and sisters, for coming together today. That even though the crisis we face is very serious, it's critical, it's dangerous, and it is in many ways a genocide that is happening to black people of our own kind. But it feels good to stand with, as my brother my son would say, the real rights. Those who are coming together, those of us who know that no matter what is happening in this nation, no matter how they try to make us afraid to stand up, we have a responsibility to be fierce, to be unapologetic, and to publicly speak. I'm so tired of the phone calls from people who are whispering on the line. They're scared to talk through their own phones right now because they believe that there will be retaliation for standing up for justice. And I understand that there will be retaliation. Many of us have received that even before coming to this moment. When Chi was speaking and he said, I don't want to get in trouble, I said to myself, I'm going to get in trouble for whatever he says today. Absolutely 100%. But we are unfortunately in a situation where we have to step over and move past those who are afraid. die to ensure that we made progress from. Now let me tell you that there are some of us who understand that our voting rights or the attack against voting rights is the cornerstone of white supremacy. That they are not returning to a time, they are continuing a time. And they are very intentional about what they're doing. Now I've heard a number of people, as has been said, explaining away the moment that we are seeing. So I want to frame this for you quickly in a way that helps you understand what is happening in this moment. More than 60% of black people live in the South. More than 60% of black people live in the South. That means that our people are largely concentrated in the southern states, Alabama, Florida, North Carolina, so on and so forth, and Mississippi. And so the goal here is not to just harm people down south, it is to disenfranchise our people across the entire country. And so the North must have something to say. And today we are showing that we do have something to say. Now I went and I asked AI to help me. I try to stay away from AI, but every now and then I have to go there because some of our people argue that we're wrong, that we are just trying to, as they say that I'm race baiting. They say that I'm bringing up things that are not important, that there is no attempt to attack our voting rights. Well, let me take you to Project 2025. And let me tell you what their ad says. That's the reason why I go get it, because some people need white folk stuff to tell them what we already know. And so I can use their stuff to tell you what they say about their own issues. My time is up. Sorry. But I think this gives me 2 seconds. All right. It says that Project 2025 is pushing aggressive voter roll purges. It says increased citizenship verification requirements. It says reduce federal enforcement of voting rights protection, expanded federal investigation of elected officials, restrictions on mail voting and absentee voting, census and representation issues, weakening remaining Voting Rights Act protections. And it goes on and on and on. This is their document that they wrote 900 pages that they put online and told you what they were going to do. So don't tell us that we're crazy. Don't tell us that we have nothing else to do. We are standing for the fundamental rights of generations to come. And if we don't do it, what will our children say about us? They will not ask us what Dr. King did. They will not ask us what Coretta Scott King and all those who fought Clarence Jones, who passed away recently. They will not ask you what they did. They will ask you and look you in the face and say, what did you do? And this group of people, we will not sit by and do nothing. God bless you.
Thank you, Tamika. I would like to bring up my sister, our sister, Councilmember Rita Joseph.
Yes, good afternoon. We're going to say a couple of chants. Let me say, my vote is my voice. My vote, my vote, my voice. My vote, my voice. Now hold on to that, because somebody is trying to take it. What's happening across the South is not an accident. It is strategy. Closing polls in black neighborhoods, purging voter rolls, redrawing a map of deliberate efforts to silence us. But let me remind them, Fannie Lou Hamer didn't believe for us to be silent. John Lewis didn't march for us to stay home. They paid the price we can never fully repay. And the least we owe them is to show up. And that's why we're here today. So here's our answer. We register, we organize, we vote. Early, on election day. Together. They're betting we're too tired to fight back. Are we tired? No. Are we ever tired? No. What can I say? What are we going to say? Not on our watch. Not on our watch. Can you say that with me? Not on our watch. One more time. Not on our watch. The vote is a power. The power doesn't protect itself. We protect it. And that's why we're here.
Yeah.
So I ask you today, will you protect the black vote? Yes. Will you protect the black vote? Yes. Now let's get to work.
Thank you, Rita. I would now like to bring up Council Member and our sister Selvina Brooks Collins.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I want to begin by thanking the New York City Black Caucus, the Public Advocate, the Workers' Families Party, who organizes SIG rallies, all that are standing here in solidarity, firmly in defense of voting rights and democratic representation. We gather here today because we understand a simple truth. Democracy only works when every voice is heard and every community has fair representation. Across the South, we are witnessing deep troubling efforts to dismantle black political power through aggressive redistricting and voter suppression tactics. According to the recent reporting, this year could result in one of the largest losses of black congressional representation in modern American history. Majority black districts are being erased, even as black and brown communities account for much of the population growth in these states. That should concern, as has been said a number of times already, every American, not just those living in the South, because the right to vote is not regional. It is fundamental. And while we often look at voter suppression as something happening somewhere else, New York has its own history. Manhattan, Brooklyn, and the Bronx were once subject to federal oversight under the Voting Rights Act because of discriminatory voting practices. That history reminds us that no state is immune from the responsibility to protect democracy. Here in New York City, we are continuing that work. In the council, we've introduced legislation to help ensure eligible voters incarcerated on Rikers Island are actually able to exercise their constitutional right to vote by addressing barriers in the absentee ballot return process. Because justice and democracy must include everyone. We also know voter suppression today doesn't always look like literacy tests or poll taxes. Sometimes it looks like inaccessible systems, manipulated district lines, misinformation, or making people feel like their voices just don't matter. But our message again today is clear. Black voices matter. Black votes matter. Democracy matters. As we approach the 250th anniversary of this nation, we cannot move backward. We must not allow it to be moved backward. And we must continue pushing forward toward a democracy that is inclusive, representative, and fair. So today, New York City stands with the communities across the South. We stand with organizers, advocates, students, elders, and everyday people fighting to protect their sacred right to vote. Because there is no democracy for some and not for others. Thank you.
Breaking news. The Supreme Court just blocked Alabama's, thank you, the state Supreme Court. Let me start again. Breaking news. The state Supreme Court just blocked Alabama's racist, fascist congressional map. When we fight, when we fight, when we fight. I would like to call up Arva Rice from the New York Urban League.
Good morning, my brothers and sisters. I am here today because this is personal. This is personal because I wasn't born in New York City. I got here just as soon as I could. But I was born and my roots come through the South. My mom and my dad were born as sharecroppers and they picked cotton in Little Rock, Arkansas. And so I grew up knowing that my grandmother saved money all year in order that she would have the money for the poll tax. And so the fact that we are being returned to a place and a space where thinking about poll taxes again hurts my heart. Every night I speak to my 79-year-old mother, and I talk to her about the work that we do at the New York Urban League. She understands why it is important for us to have organizations that fight a fight that she thought had already been won. And so today I ask you, I implore you all to remember that this is personal. And so we must all make a personal commitment, whether it is to speak to individuals in our communities, whether it is to speak to people in schools, whether it is to speak to people in our church, our mosque, our synagogue. But we all must answer the call to personally step up and answer the moment that this moment demands. And so I ask you all to remember and to implore that this is personal.
Thank you so much. But now I'd like to bring up Deputy Speaker, our sister, Natasha Williams.
Good afternoon. I am fighting a sinus infection, but I want you to know that although my voice may be weak, my conviction is strong. A lot has been said, but not everybody has had a chance to say it. I'll be very, very brief because I am missing a hearing. But it is so important that we did this event, so I want to thank my colleagues, Councilmember David, and the nurse for putting this together. We are here because representation matters. We are here because New York City stands with the South. I don't know about you, but my mother's family is from the South. My father's family is from the South. We know that there is a direct line between Black Americans in the North and Black Americans in the South. Redistricting is not simply about lines on a map. It is about whether Black communities receive fair representation, equitable resources, responsive government, and a meaningful voice in our democracy. The decisions being made today will shape political representation, federal advocacy, infrastructure investment, housing priorities, healthcare access, transportation funding, and constituent services for the next decade. We know representation matters because how can we have representation to it matter? That is why this process must be approached with transparency, fairness, and accountability. Communities deserve to know that their voices are being heard and not sidelined. For generations, many neighborhoods worked tirelessly to build political representation strong enough to advocate for their needs, protect their interests, and secure long overdue investments. These gains have been significantly weakened. The largest rollback of Black political power in American history. We're about to celebrate American history. So in our 250-year history, this is the largest rollback of American history. Our democracy is sick. A healthy democracy requires more than legal compliance. It requires legitimacy. And legitimacy comes from openness, engagement, and fairness. This moment calls for leadership rooted not in politics, but in principle. We are calling for a process that puts people first. A process that values transparency over expediency. A process that values fairness over political convenience. And a process that recognizes that representation is foundational to democracy itself. Our democracy is sick. Our democracy is sick. And we must do something to heal it. Thank you.
Thank you, sister. We're honored to now bring up Councilmember Chanel Thomas.
Good afternoon. I want to thank my colleagues and all the organizers of this great event. I must say, every morning when I wake up, it's a new nightmare. When this happened, I couldn't understand it because when I turned 18, I went to the polls to vote with no problem. So I had to call or sit down with my grandmother, who will be 90 this year and grew up in Mississippi. I had to call my great aunt and said, what was it like in the South and does it feel reminiscent of what is happening today? But it was normal back then. They understood there was a poll tax. They understood that there was a literacy test. And they understood that even if you passed that test and some didn't want you to vote, you did not vote. And that's what we're faced with today. A vote is not just a ballot. It is power, it is protection, it is the difference between communities being invested in or ignored. And today, we are here because that power is under attack. In her dissent, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson warned that this decision ignores the reality of voter suppression. It weakens protections communities for generations to secure. And that is exactly what is at stake at this collectively. The significance comes down to who gets heard, who gets represented, and who gets access to these resources. But the reality is this. The Supreme Court ruling was devastating, but it was not complete. Black leaders and families fought through segregation, redlining, voter suppression, and disinvestment to protect our neighborhoods, integrate schools, and secure political power for generations to come. They understood that a vote is more than participation. It is about voice. It is leverage. It is the ability to shape the future of our community. And when people are pushed from the ballot box, I will give it some. And that right is the reason why I'm here today. Just to say, I want to share this one personal. When I ran to this seat, my family said my great-grandmother, when she got the right to vote and registered voters, through it all, crosses burning on her lawn, she did not stop. And she said, one day, I wish that someone in my family would be a politician. Here I am.
Thank you. It is now my distinct honor and pleasure to bring up Boogie Down Bronx once again, our two-time elected Bronx Borough President, first black woman to serve in that seat, our sister Vanessa Gibson.
Thank you so much. I can only say that I'm a first because of my ancestors, because I represent African slaves that fought and died so that I could be here today representing black voters in the Bronx and beyond. Thank you everyone for being here. Thank you to Public Advocate Jamani D. Williams, former Congressman Jamal Bowman, thank you for your leadership. To the Working Families Party for your leadership in defending our democracy and protecting the black vote. Thank you to the members of the New York City Council who are here. Councilmember Althea Stevens, Councilmember Crystal Hudson, as well as Sandy Nurse, Sylvita Brooks Powers, Dr. Natasha Williams, Rita Jones, as well as Rita Joseph, Chanel Thomas Henry, Congresswoman Yvette Clark, Tamika D. Mallory, and my song, Until Freedom. I'm also proud to represent 9 leaders in the Bronx that represent the NAACP, NCNW, New York Urban League, all of our faith leaders, and Until Freedom. Thank you all for bringing us together today. Let me first say that if our vote was not that important, there wouldn't be efforts to take it away and undermine it. Right. We are living in challenging times, dangerous times. Our ancestors are outraged at the political environment that we are living in today. The historic Civil Voting Rights Act of 1965 is undermined and weakened right before our eyes under this White House administration. It is disgraceful, unacceptable, and shameful in every way. The U.S. Supreme Court's decision to eviscerate the Voting Rights Act is disgusting, yet somehow the court has determined that creating congressional maps to ensure political representation, protect majority black districts, and protect an equitable democracy somehow violates the Constitution. Lies, lies, lies. We see the game, folks, and we see the motives, and we reject this in all forms. Southern Republican-led states with heavy black voters, Tennessee, Louisiana, Georgia, South Carolina, Alabama, Florida, and let me also add Mississippi. The conservative Supreme Court has used the 14th Amendment to license segregation, to set this nation backwards in its progress, to denigrate the fight of our ancestors who were slaves, and essentially codify second-class citizenship. We are outraged as New Yorkers, and we stand in solidarity to protect the black vote across the South. Why? Because it's personal. Many of us have family and friends who live in these states, and this moment calls for action and attention. It's an assault on our democracy, the fundamental rights of black communities in the South, and it took decades, folks, for us to get here. This is an all-hands-on-deck moment. As a black woman and a public servant, a descendant of slaves, representing the Bronx, I'm proud to stand with you on this important issue today. tomorrow, and as long as it takes to protect the black folks and countless lives that this moment represents. Let's be very clear. This is anti-black and it's racism, and we will not stand for it today, tomorrow, or ever. Power to the people. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Madam President. I would now like to bring up Dr. Zulema Blair from Edgar Evers College.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. And thank you for having me out here. As a professor at Edgar Evers College, it is my duty and also my privilege to come out here and explain the purpose of redistricting and its connection to the Voting Rights Act. Yes, redistricting is about the constitutionally mandated redrawing of political boundaries every 10 years for demographic shifts. So where do we get this mid-decade redrawing from? What data are they using to redraw this map in this time? Where did they get the right to say that out of 34% of blacks in Louisiana, that we cannot have a second black district? Where did they get the right to say that in Alabama, in Tennessee, and in all our southern states, that we cannot have more than one black congressional district? That is a farce. And we know that when the time comes that we will have an opportunity to do it, we need to get ourselves together to do it. Voting Rights Act is not just about giving us the right to vote. Race was always involved. It always said that race had to be used to ensure that blacks had to be protected, that we had to have majority-minority districts, that we had to have coalition districts, that we had to have opportunity districts, that we had to have the ability to coalesce with our Latino and Asian brothers and sisters to put a voice together for our people. It was a decade or two ago that they predicted that in 2050 we would be the majority. And ever since then, they've been chipping away at the Voting Rights Act. So now we must not only get the technical skills together, but the cultural competence in our communities together to do this big business that we call voting rights.
Thank you all again so much for being here. And to close us out, it is my honor to bring up Reverend Dr. Stephen Green, Greater Allen A&E Cathedral.
Thank you to all who have assembled us here today. In June of 1966, a New Yorker who was Trinidadian born by the name of Stokely Carmichael, went down to Mississippi, sat on the back of a flatbed truck and said, what we need is black power. It wasn't a problem when we tried to integrate schools. It wasn't an issue when we sat at lunchtime. When it came time for black power, all hell broke loose, and we're seeing the backlash with black power over the last 60 years in this country. And so what we've come to say is, just like Malcolm said, we don't just have the ballot, we don't just have the bullet, we also have the vote. And in New York, we can do something to stop the racial gerrymandering across this country by using the power of our wallet to stop the draconian laws taking place in this country. Now is the time for New York to say something. Many of the corporations that continue to fund racial gerrymandering across this country are based in New York City. And now we need New York City to sanction these corporations for continuing to support racial gerrymandering across this country. On Juneteenth weekend, June the 20th, we're calling all New Yorkers, all men and women of goodwill and conscience to join us in the streets. Now is the time to take this conversation from the press conferences to the front line. On June 20th, Until Freedom and Faith for Black Lives and other organizations are calling on New Yorkers to get into good trouble. We're calling on those of us to come on buses, on trains, on cars, to join us in New York City at Central Park for a day of action. Now is the time to show our power and to get in good trouble. Thank you so much, and let us pray. Eternal, most gracious God of our ancestors, the God of our forefathers,